Noon, good evening, or good night, whatever time of day you are joining us. This is the Victory Roll Wrestling Podcast. I am the storyteller, Alex Braddock. Joining me today is 6'12" Dylan Gilbert. Dylan, how we doing, buddy?
Doing good, brother. Doing good, man. We had a fun week packed with wrestling. Hopefully, we're not going to go an hour and a half on this week.
I hope not either. On top of going an hour and a half, we have a watch along at the end of this. We are watching one of my last matches in Florida, or one of my latest matches in Florida, versus the great Defiant Simon Phillips. I don't know, man, but that's going to be later in the episode. But this week in wrestling, we start with AEW's Forbidden Door. We said our predictions last week, but we watched it on Sunday together. We were what, 6-2 at the end of the night for predictions?
I think we were 6-2 almost solely because there was two of them where it's like we know it's going to be this,
Yeah,
but I want this.
right.
So I think we'll just to kind of break down some of the few that really stood out because I think the whole card was rock solid.
For sure.
Um, I think I mean look, nobody does pay per view like Tony Khan. But the ones that really stood out to me, like obviously like the anything with Jericho's current learning tree gimmick is gold. I freaking love it. But like the acclaimed and Tanahashi versus the Elite, I think we nailed that one square on the nose. They did a great job of keeping the acclaimed and Bucks story alive. Tanahashi was there to eat the pin from Okada, and that's exactly what happened. We
But
called
was
that one a
also
mile and a half
there,
out.
but was also there to show the experience. The acclaimed are not new by any means. They have been solidly trained and are great at what they do. But also at the same time, having someone that's been doing it as long as Tanahashi has
Oh yeah.
is just to add that experience to them. And I could definitely tell they were getting that experience from them. But yeah, what do we got next? I completely agree with what you had on
So
Scissor Aces versus the Elite.
So one that I'm gonna put it out there. We're gonna put kind of a pin in this one. We're gonna talk about it later. The TNT Championship ladder match, which I freaking loved.
Yeah,
But we'll talk about that one when we get into Money in the Bank.
because we've had
Look,
3 ladder matches this week.
we've had 3 ladder matches in 7 days, which is crazy, but here we are.
Weird to think about. Yes.
And I'm sure there are more if you count the independents, but these are
Right.
just the. But uh, look, Danielson Shingo was everything I hoped it would be. It's not really a storyline rolling through that one. It was just a freaking masterclass of violence and professional wrestling. Those two beat the holy hell out of each other, and I loved it. Uh, Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa.
We made comments about it, dude. That match could not have gone better.
It
Like
was
it's
perfect.
you had the perfect, if I can say, American style out of Tony versus the
Hmm.
Japanese style, even though Tony still has that mix of Joshi in her.
She has that
Um,
Joshi, but she's really leaned into working like the kind of American, like tell the story, work the character, work the crowd with
Especially
this
when,
timeless run she's been on.
um, but
Fantastic, man.
but accentuating the eventual, we feel like eventual feud between Mariah and Tony, which is going to happen whether it's this year, next year, or in 5 years. It's going to happen at some point.
It
But
looks like they're on that collision course, man. Because May is in the final next week for the Owen.
which we'll talk about when we get to Rampage. But yeah, no,
I
it's
mean,
they're on a collision course, and if it happens at all in, we will write it on the prediction board.
could you
Mariah May
imagine?
versus.
Could you imagine the crowd reaction if that title change happens in Wembley? It
It'd be
might
nuts.
register on the Richter scale.
Probably, probably. Um, but yeah, I mean, solid match all around. They really played into both of their characters, which I loved, but also beat the snot out of each other. So,
And I love that
yeah,
it was a situation where they were because not every feud in wrestling has to end in one person being the bad guy, one person being the good guy. Like that's a situation where they had that match, they beat the bejesus out of each other, and all three of them walked out together.
yeah,
And I think that it's one of those things that like I love a good good trumps evil or even a good evil trumps good sometimes, because sometimes in the real world the bad guy wins, the asshole wins
sometimes you
sometimes.
gotta have Andre beating Hogan. You know,
But
that's
I think when you can get a situation where there was tension, but like the match ends with all three like hands raised, that's pretty cool. Like we
yeah.
don't get it a ton, so when you get it and it doesn't feel like the kind of cheesy BS of like, well, we put the two biggest top people against each other and then they're gonna shake hands after. Like they played through all of the emotion and it ended up in a positive place. I think it was fun.
It's a good show. It was a good night. Um, what else we got?
And
Brian Shingo. Did we talk about that? Did I
so
miss
yeah,
it?
we talked like Brian Shingo is like I
It's a
said,
hard hitting
masterclass,
technical match. Yeah,
hard hitting, technical.
I was gonna go.
Moxley versus Naito, which I think Naito he's not on the retirement tour, but he's probably booking
He's
venues
getting
for it.
close. He's getting close.
He still looked pretty good in this one. Him and Moxley, it's another one of those. Like it was not like a technical masterpiece; it was a fist fight.
Right.
Uh, Kind of shocking. I think neither one of us had Moxley losing the title in
I
America.
didn't
We thought they would save it for Japan
for sure.
because it you want to get the bigger crowd reaction, like have Naito win it in the Dome or at like Duntaku or like one of the
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah, yeah,
shows.
yeah. One of the actual New Japan shows.
But
I had him. I had him clocked to lose it to a young boy,
yeah,
or a former young boy. I mean, some up and comer. As much as he's attached himself to Shota, I had him losing it to one of the up and comers. But
I mean, I think Moxley putting over Shota would have been massive, just because that would have been the perfect full circle for their story. But
absolutely,
there's
it's bound to happen.
nothing says he can't do it without the title, and it
Right.
would mean just as much because of their history.
Correct.
So I'm not mad at that finish at all. Naito going back to New Japan champion makes sense. Like it, I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah.
And then we get to the moment of the night, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay, the match that me and you were
Dude.
both very very torn over going in. And I would say to me 99.9% a damn near flawless match. I was
It
not a fan of
was.
how they executed the ending
Yeah.
because I'm an Osprey guy through and through.
Absolutely.
But I think like the way that they kept drawing us in, and like I know because we watched it together, I know there's multiple points where both just like, well, that's it, throw your hands up, and then one,
Yeah.
two, and there's the kick at like
There's the
2.9.
Which Osprey took the Kenny Omega masterclass when it comes to 2.99 kickouts.
And I think
Um,
like it was, dude, it was fantastic. Which we've said, I think we've talked about like I've never really, outside of Killshot and Lucha Underground, I loved Killshot. Outside of that, I've never really gotten Swerve, like just his persona. I like when he talks outside of the ring.
yeah.
He understands this shit, man, and I love it. But just when he gets into the ring and he's the promos he cuts and everything, and it's like he plays everything kind of like a sadistic heel, and the crowd's just behind him, and I don't get it. Like I get liking him, but I
Yeah.
don't get why we're cheering for a man
His
who's
manager
playing a
has cool
bastard.
dance. His manager has a cool dance, and he has a cool little chant. But like at the same time, like so does Osprey. Like Osprey doesn't have a dance, but he has a cool chant. And when he gets into Wembley, the roof is going to blow off the place when they're chanting Osprey, Osprey, Osprey. You know,
Yeah,
so it's not. You can't look at how the fans react in a sense, because if you wanted to look at that, then why aren't they booing the absolute tar out of MJF right
yeah.
now?
Which
That'll be a
we will get to that.
but
But
no,
man, what
if
what I think got me on that match was the like towards the end of the match we get Don Callis comes in, pins Nana back and hands the screwdriver to Osprey. Osprey has that crisis of do I do it, do I not? Turns in, and I'm not a booker. I'm just a mark. But to me, that's the point where Osprey like drops the screwdriver. He turns in, house call 1 2 3. I took my eye off the ball. That's on me.
yeah,
He takes the freaking house call, and they go 8 more moves.
yeah,
And I was not a
and
fan of Osprey being like out on his feet doing the swinging, and and Swerve just like looking down on him like he pitied him, setting him down and hitting him one more time. I wasn't a fan
I,
of that.
I
I
don't.
felt like it didn't that if it had been the like boom, Swerve still got a clean victory, and Osprey still can say, I took my eye off the prize. You were right. I was not taking this seriously enough. So that's why I say like 99.9% a good match. That last 0.01 kind of lost me.
Yeah. It
But
was
watching it
a
back, dude,
solid showing.
it was so good. Like I can't let that
Solid.
little bit ruin what was a great match.
Right.
I did on the night
And I
of, but
think yes, I mean, and it's what happens on night of, and then you have a week to think about it.
that's I
And
mean that's the beauty of wrestling, man. If it doesn't evoke emotion in you like that, there's no reason to watch. If it
yes,
doesn't make you feel something, it's not good, or you need to walk away.
which we will talk about that phrase when we talk about Money in the Bank. But I agree. I the execution. Yes, looking back at it, it was still solid. Yes, they both took 8 more moves after the whole screwdriver bit, but I think what they're trying to go for is Osprey used to be a killer. And ever since he's gotten to AEW, that killer mentality has been dropping.
Yeah,
And I am waiting for whoever steps up to the plate to bring that killer instinct back in him. He's ditched the driver, the storm driver.
for
He's
now.
ditched the screwdriver,
For now.
literally. He's ditching the Don Callis family, which we can talk about on Wednesday when we talk about the little promo. Because the snippet that I've got is talking about Don Callis. When is it going to come back out? Because he goes like he finished his death run in a sense, like his killer bounty hunter death run, and then went to AEW. If you
Yeah.
want proof, go look up Will Ospreay versus Michael Oku in British wrestling in Rev Pro, because the amount of times that I thought Oku was dead and he's still breathing
Dude,
is nuts.
look at Osprey versus Kenta in the G1 last year.
Right.
There is a segment of that match where there is zero pull, and they are trying to knock each other out.
Absolutely.
You cannot convince me that there wasn't just a like, just hit me as hard as you can.
Oh, yeah. There was
Because
definitely a
there,
conversation backstage. It's like,
and it's not slaps. We're talking forearm shots. Like, I
forearm
mean,
shots,
that
palm
would knock
strikes
out
to
a
the
mortal.
face.
Like,
Oh, it would knock me out cold.
I mean, they were
And
beating the bejesus out of each other.
yes,
Osprey's got killer in him.
absolutely. And that killer is fading. And once again, I'd hate to see the guy that steps up to him to take that killer instinct back out of his brain. But yeah, overall solid night. Once again, you said nobody does pay per view like Tony Khan. I have a back and forth on that, but when it comes to in both of our opinions, I think when it comes to pay per view of the week, Tony Khan took it. AEW put on a solid match, and of course, you have your argument of if I spend $50 on Bleacher Report and I get 9 matches, I'm okay with it. Versus I get $10 for Peacock and I have 4 matches or 5 matches, which was the case this week.
Yeah.
I completely understand that, and you have solid talent in all 8 matches, and you have solid talent in all 4 or 5 matches. I mean, it doesn't.
I think like
4 matches are going to bring more money.
I think like if you look at it in terms of like there was so much talent between both cards.
Yeah.
And I mean, who knows if Money in the Bank had a similar amount of matches, which is like look, Forbidden Door had a ludicrous amount of matches, and I loved it.
Correct.
Maybe we're talking about it's like it's neck and neck. I think they just gave you more, and I don't, and sometimes more is less, sometimes less is more.
Correct.
But I
mean,
think
I still have the counter offer of why did we had JD and Finn win the Raw Tag Team Champions not this past week but the week before. That could have easily been a match that we slotted on the Money in the Bank. We had a match that we'll talk about in a minute, but DIY versus Grayson and Theory, and the result of that we'll talk about. But that could have easily been a match that went on Money in the Bank. We had Zelina and Liv earlier this week for the women's title once again, but I think because they are trying to keep it all a legitimate sport, now. They're trying to sell it like UFC, so you don't want 12 fights on one card, so you're going to put 4 on one card and spread it out, which I appreciate. And there's respect, like you said. Sometimes less is more, sometimes more is less, and we take it and run with it. But that was the Sunday. We turn right back around and go into Monday. And last week we realized our mistakes and spent
Yes.
an hour and a half talking about the week of wrestling. So we are not going to do that this time. We're just going to hit high points. We can kind of run down minor points, like we had, Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn set up their matches. We've had Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio kind of going back and forth with Rey Mysterio and Selena Vega. But I think big point for us, Wyatt 6,
Yes.
which that entire cinematic promo that they are putting out week after week is brilliant.
I said it last week, and I think we're getting even further into. I think anybody that said like, "Oh, well, this is just Bo trying to cash in on," this is the company just trying to cash in on the death of Wyndham Bray. Just shut the hell up and take the ride, man. Like, they are doing something right now that is fantastic, and I knew that there was that sixth gear when you watch like the like Bo Dallas's like Bo Leave run. There was points where you saw those kind of cracks in it where it's like, oh man, he could definitely turn this thing on, and it's one of those, like, I think the great missed opportunities we could have had if we'd have put Bo Dallas in the Wyatt family with that same like charisma, but you just turn
Yes.
that darkness on. And
Yes.
seeing all of this, it just proves to me that like it was there and it could have happened.
Yeah, and I mean,
It's
you could have
fantastic.
had you had the argument of people, oh, he's cashing in. Well, this was their passion.
Yeah,
This was their project. That now, sure, of course, you pull in a curveball, pulling in the rest of the members of the Wyatt Six that could have been lined up already, but I don't think it was.
right.
At least not as soon as it is now. But you basically had Bray drop everything when it came to the Fiend and the Funhouse. And when he came back, he opened up that door into a realm that we never got to explore, but he opened it up and revealed Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. And that was, in a sense, a brand new project. And
Yeah.
all Taylor, Bo, Howdy is doing at this point is showing the world, hey, this is the project that we had lined. I
Yeah.
love it.
I mean, it really does feel like, just like quick aside, like with horror, you get this X trilogy that's out right now. There's X, Pearl, and Maxine. All three of these movies are entirely different stylistically. They're in the same universe, similar characters, similar story being told, but each movie is an entirely different genre. I think that's what we're doing with this Wyatt Six. Like, you had Swampy Cult Leader, you had the Funhouse, and now you've got the Wyatt Six, and they are same universe, same characters, but man, this is a whole different beast,
That
and
is
I
just
love
an
it.
evolution. It's an evolution.
Yeah,
And the line that stuck out to me during this Howdy promo, and it answered so many questions that people have had. And it answers the questions of, is it going to be one of those things that when these guys finally step in the ring, are they going to just, take the mask off? Like, is Eric Rowan as the bunny? I unfortunately am not caught up in my White Six lore, so I don't know the actual name of him.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure it's Ramblin' Rabbit. I may be
Ramblin'
wrong.
Rabbit. There you go. If he shows up as Ramblin' Rabbit to face Chad Gable, who they're kind of haunting at this point, is he just going to rip off the mask and have Eric Rowan's face, or is he going to leave it on? And I think the answer came in the promo where Bo is sitting opposite of Howdy, and he goes, "I am the voice of the reckoning," and it quickly jumps to Howdy and goes, "I am the reckoning." So it is simply, I think it is going to be a legitimate, how Bray did the Funhouse, and he's like, "You're not going to want to mess with this guy." And the Fiend was, in a sense, a whole different persona
Yeah.
that, if I can
Well, I mean,
say it in a better term, I think Bo Dallas / Taylor Wyndham is going to be the Paul Heyman to the Uncle Howdy's, like,
well,
uncharismatic guy who cannot cut a promo.
Well, I think that was
Like,
the same thing they did with, like Bray Wyatt actually had matches like in the Funhouse sweater and everything.
yes,
And it was one of those things where it's just like, please don't awaken him. Please don't bring him out. And it was kind of his Incredible Hulk, man. Like when you pushed and you pushed and you pushed, you got the beast.
but now we're too late. Like they've already said, we are coming.
Yep.
Like, as Howdy slash Taylor slash Bo has said, I have set them free. Therefore, there is no, hey, don't let him loose. He's already gone. He's already loose.
Well, I think that's why we got that epic shot with Gable backing up the ramp as the lights go down, and he turns one way and there's one. He turns another way, there's another. He goes to run up the ramp and there's somebody up top. Like everywhere he runs in the arena, there's one of them. And man, it's so
They're,
good. It's so good.
setting up. WWE has been overhauling their cinematography, and they're
Yes.
doing a
I feel,
phenomenal
man,
job.
I feel like a kid watching The Undertaker again. Like when with some of this stuff happens, like it happens in like closing in on 32 years old. I still get like giddy like a kid. We're like, oh man, they're doing something crazy.
Right.
It's so good.
It's great, man. But that's highlight of Raw for us, and then um, NXT doesn't really do it for us.
Yeah,
I
not
know there's
anymore,
the
man.
upcoming stars, but until something big happens, which on the night of us recording this is NXT Heatwave. So they have the big fatal four way between Sean Spears, Ethan Page, Trick Williams, and Leon something or another. I'm sorry that I don't know his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
For the NXT title, we have
Come
Lola
on, ego.
Vice and Roxanne Perez fighting for the women's title. But like, there's just I'm not saying it's not exciting. Personally, I think if I watched it, I'd be more intrigued. But with as much wrestling as there is in the week,
Yes.
taking one more night out of the week to watch wrestling, yes, I'm a bad podcast host. I'm sorry. That it is what it is. But skipping NXT, going to Wednesday night Dynamite. We have a few heavy hitters. It was, the show coming off of pay per view, which is always, a big heavy hitter versus, sometimes later, like in the other weeks, you have a little lighter show, but heavy hitters coming out. At Forbidden Door, we had Britt Baker come out after Mercedes Moné won the TBS and New Japan Strong title. Just walked out, did her little DMD, and walked back. As if a message wasn't sent clear enough, they said she's going to be talking on Dynamite. And props to her for the promo that she cut, because it was half real and then half like, I'm going to beat this prick up.
The line that she cut, it's brilliant, conning the fans into chanting your little CEO thing because you pipe it in your entrance.
Yes.
I've been complaining about that since day one. Look, we talked
Yeah, as
about it
soon as the
last
music
week.
came out, you text me and was like, the CEO being pumped into the music? Really? Come on.
So I mean, look, it's no secret I'm a figure collector. I've got Sasha Banks stuff. I was a big Sasha Banks fan. Loved Sasha Banks. And when she left and went to New Japan, I was really excited for it, and it just became apparent to me pretty quickly like the things that I liked about the Sasha Banks character were definitely written for her. And the things that I didn't like about the Sasha Banks character were definitely when she did what she wanted to do. And I think over time, like anything, she's gonna find her own. I think she's finding her own here. But that was one of those things where it's like the whole CEO chant and stuff. I was like, this shit sucks. And I think like calling it out like that to the point where when she came out, and I think granted they're leaning into her being the heel in this situation, which they need to. She is not a good babyface at all. She is at her best when she's just being a bitchy heel. But when they like her entrance hits, the CEO is piped in. You see fans turning and looking at other fans that are still chanting it like there's something wrong with them.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
One line in the
And
promo has opened the way people thought about it, just shattered
correct.
the reality.
Correct.
Love it.
Honestly, that is I mean, of course, you're always going to have those people that, especially when you're shifting. I don't know necessarily if they're shifting, but when you're moving back and forth between the lines of heel versus face, most of the time you want your face to be cheered and you want your heel to be booed. And in AEW, it doesn't happen all that often. Most of the time, everyone just realizes how much of a great talent they are, and they run with it. And
Well,
they
I
cheer
think
for them,
that's
and they work for it, and everything's great. But now that you've called out something, and it goes, oh wait, hold on, you almost did that as a tactic to make me cheer for you. Hold on, timeout. That's not going to work for me anymore. You want me to do something for you? That's not going to work out. And
it's
so
not going to work for me,
as
brother.
soon as Britt holds up a finger and goes to do the DMD, blows the roof off the place because everybody knows it, and they started doing that. Of course, she started. I'm Britt Baker, DMD, but now all she has to do is hold up a finger.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. It's the same extent of I am a revolutionary. I am a visionary. I am Seth freaking Rollins, and the whole crowd blows up when he's
Or
saying it.
my name is Maxwell Jacob Freeman, and I'm better than you. And he turns the crowd mic out, and you know it.
Yes, it is naturally created chance versus you literally pumped in your CEO chance, which Mercedes Moné, if you ever want to get on the podcast and or help me with my wrestling career, then be honest, I'm not fussing at you. It's all storyline.
It's a kayfabe, brother, kayfabe.
It's all kayfabe. You're a phenomenal worker, but we just have to talk about what's going on in the wrestling world, and you got burnt to hell and back again. So
I'm just a fan. I can say it. Britt torched her, man. And I hope that there's some return fire, and I hope this is a
I hope so too.
banger of a feud.
It's going
because it can be. They're both fantastic.
Baker involved, it's going to burn the house down, and I think with I hope with Mercedes involved and her TV prowess, I guess if you could say, I fully agree that yes, Mercedes Moné has more TV time than Britt Baker. She has worked with the best of the best when it comes to TV and production.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can give that to Britt, now Britt, who's already a locker room leader when it comes to the women in AEW and is willing to literally lob her head off to give some of these women like the chance to go over in front of fans. I think giving her that TV experience and her giving that storyline and whatever else, it's going to be phenomenal. And if we see it in Wembley, we see it in Wembley. If we don't, then it's going to happen at All Out 2 weeks after Wembley. But enough about that because we can sit here and rant about how great of a worker Britt is. Super quick, Pac versus Daniel for the semifinals of the Owen Hart.
Yep. Coming off that Shingo match, Danielson they could have easily written the situation like you could have written him off as like he is completely beaten down after Shingo, and I think he was a little slower. You could definitely tell like he took some punishment against Shingo. Him and Pac did a great job of having. I don't think you see it enough. This was a wrestling match. They were trading holds. They were trading submissions. You see it when Zack Sabre Jr. is in the ring, but like you don't see it enough, I think, in current wrestling. That was two guys that know how to trade holds, that know how to put in submission locks, get out of submissions, transfer submissions. Like that was a great grappling match.
What was great is I believe that was their third or fourth meeting in their entire
like ever.
Which their careers have crossed paths so many times. But I think the last time that they were in it was some random promotion in Japan. I'm pretty sure is what Excalibur said on commentary.
I think so.
They never touched in WWE. Adrian Neville / Neville and Daniel Bryan never touched in WWE, which is nuts.
Which is crazy, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
It's the way Redacted ran his company, and so that's the way it works. But
Redacted likes big sweaty men and not small men.
Phenomenal match. And then we move straight into main event, coming off of a loss from Swerve. We have Ospreay versus Daniel Garcia.
Before we get too deep into this,
hit me.
We're forgetting the return of the week. The wild card was
Oh,
Hangman Adam
yeah.
Page coming back.
Which
I thought like
I thought was going to be a
perfect.
squash match.
I thought perfect opportunity for Hangman to be a heel. He came in. He came in unhinged. I mean, you saw his face, the bugged out eyes. I think he did a great job of he played. I mean, he played off. That's a man that had everything taken from him, and he's coming back with an axe to grind, and we still don't know exactly who against. I mean, he said he wants a piece of Swerve, and God help me, I hope he gets it. It would be a war in Wembley.
Yeah.
Uh, but also, maybe he joins the elite, maybe he doesn't. He said he doesn't want to be part of this, but who knows?
Yeah.
There's
I
a lot
mean,
they can do with that, and I'm really excited about Hangman being
we
back.
have Blood and Guts in 2 weeks, and still no fifth member. First member was announced as
Mark Briscoe.
Briscoe. Yeah. Um, and so there's potential that Hangman's like, no, I don't want any of this, but then maybe they somehow get Swerve into it on the other side, and Hangman goes, no, I want to tear him apart. Give me
Yeah,
like, especially with the finals being this upcoming week. Um, with the finals being, Daniel Brian Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page in the finals of the Cup, we could see Hangman take it and go, yeah, I have my chance in Wembley, but I'm going to tear him apart now.
yeah.
But going back, now that we've addressed it, he's unhinged. He's nuts. The little promo package of him stumbling around his house as he's having Swerve flashbacks, phenomenal. It
Oh
set
yeah.
up the character perfectly, and then he comes in, new music, new lighting, dark as crap, and as soon as the
The
lights come up, he hits like 4 clotheslines. Phenomenal.
the Red Dead sepia tone, like for his
Yes.
entrance. And I pointed
Yes.
out too in the video package as he's stumbling drunk down the hallway, they use the same effect as like Red Dead Redemption when your character gets drunk. There's like the kind of fade and stuff. I was like,
Yes.
it's so good, man. Like they're really leaning into. I think you well, I'm gonna have to look back to like the term you used because you said this is not cowboy shit. This is a horse around and
Oh,
find
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is horse around and find out. That's what.
And I was like, dude, he's dead on. This is it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's
They
time for
they need to
war.
put it on a T-shirt. AEW, if you want to take it, maybe just like a couple dollars of royalties.
Hey TK,
Um,
just advertise the pod, baby. You got it.
or look, just a couple squash matches. TK, I'm okay with it. Um, you had GPA, who GPA. I've never heard of you, but I'd love to find out more about you on Rampage. But anyway, so then we move into the main event. Ospreay coming off of a loss, supposed to be a double title match that he guaranteed Garcia, but because it wasn't double title, Garcia said, "No, I'm still going to try and take that international title off of you." Banger of a match. Garcia still surprises me. I do not understand the whole dancing gimmick still to this day. But there's so many gimmicks in this world that I do not understand as a wrestler.
It's
That
fun, but like to me, it
happens.
was kind of like take or leave. I mean, he's a great wrestler, but I think
Yeah.
he needed something to kind of like the people that are not the people that weren't watching his indie run. He needed something to kind of grab the eyes of the casual, and I think that worked.
Yeah, and the way he integrated it, it got a pop out of me when Osprey did the Kawada kicks and backs Garcia up, and then he bends down and goes, "Come on, kick me," and then Garcia does the dance onto his head. I was
Yep.
like, you know what? That is a way to perfectly integrate a gimmick. And so that match went on without a hitch. Phenomenal. Garcia and Osprey absolutely killing it. And then the ending.
Yeah.
We have heel MJF, who is not caring in the world how much money he gets fined when it comes to spitting on fans and throwing phones across buildings.
Dude,
Um,
the way they did it was so perfect too because he tried to give Garcia the ring, the Dynamite Diamond. Garcia wouldn't take it, turns around, bang. The same thing Osprey Swerve should have done. I'm not doing this. Throws it back at him, bang. He gets his head taken off with one of those beautiful hidden blades I've ever seen. 1, 2, 3, ball game. MJF with the hey man, that was 100% on me. And you really like they really lured me in. I was like, damn, maybe we're gonna get a thing with MJF and Garcia, and he's really gonna keep this thing going. And he raises the hand and he takes a step back to like give him the spotlight and nut shots him.
And then
Amazing.
after that, just
The blood,
absolutely
the insanity, man.
obliterates him. So what did it for me was he pops Garcia with the ring.
Yep.
Garcia goes down. He sits there and he's fuming. He's looking at the fans. And then just a random guy in a suit hops up on the apron, and I'm like, oh, it just might be somebody from backstage. Pop with the ring. And then the camera cuts back to freaking Daddy Magic just gushing as if he's been painted. Like I
the
thought
way
it was
he
just
had
face paint.
the blood was so thick on his eyes, it looked like something out of a horror movie. He couldn't open his eyes because there was so much blood.
Right.
And it was a half-second shot, but dude, I mean, I close my eyes, I can still see it.
Yeah.
That is, Chelsea Green talked about, like, sometimes it's not the matches, it's the moments.
Yep.
That was a fucking moment. Him coming down, sorry, one per episode. Him coming down through the crowd, spitting on the fans. Having a fan literally get grabbed at the waist by security and yanked back off the railing. Like, that felt like territory heat.
Yes. And, dude.
Wrestling's back, baby.
Wrestling's back. You know, it came back for Mania. You know, it always
The Rock made it cool again.
And lows. You know, we stand by the fact that The Rock made it cool again. MJF is making it hot again.
Look, we all know that The Rock called Max on like Wednesday morning and said, "Look, I think you should turn heel again, and I think you should spit on the fans."
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He was a plant. He did not get a bunch of merch backstage because MJF randomly did this. Absolutely not at all.
I just, you gotta.
It's
the fact that like actually read multiple like posts and stuff in like the AEW subreddit and all. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I don't care. There were people talking about like I was sitting in the section with that guy and like the way that the second that phone got lobbed or the second the other guy got spit on. Like AEW staff was like, "We're here. What can we give you? What can we do?" Like,
yeah,
MJF is a PR nightmare, and it's probably the best thing they have going right now.
But part of me wonders, like, if they're like, they are aware that it is a PR nightmare, right? But also at the same time, I've always said, and unfortunately here in Louisiana, you can't really work with it, but in a sense, the fans enter at their own risk. They know what they're getting into. Now, sure, some fans don't know what they're getting themselves into, but those fans shouldn't be sitting on the front row where a wrestler can deal with them. So, sure, there's an argument, MJF shouldn't have smacked his phone away, but also at the same time, if you stick a phone in MJF's face trying to record him, I don't blame him for smacking that.
The man's entire career has been just F you to anybody that is within 6 inches of him. It is not like you should be surprised when the man who threw a drink in a kid's face slapped a phone out of a grown man's hand. It should be a shock.
But yeah, dude. And then he turned back around on Saturday and cut, the promo of like, you guys turned your back on me. Went back to an old promo and just said, like he had ADHD and then he had some kind of rejection disorder that his brain holds on to any kind of rejection emotions. And the fact that he was at home being rejected, he's like, this is my excuse for being a prick. And I'm loving what they're doing with him. But that's on Saturday. Friday night, because we skip ahead, nothing happened on Thursday. Friday night SmackDown, really the big thing that happened, DIY tag title change. Beats Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I've been a huge fan of DIY. I think they're doing a phenomenal job, especially with the push that they've been given with R-Truth doing the whole, DX thing. Our joke right now is they are DIXY. That's
if you've noticed too when Truth posted the picture, we talked about this yesterday. When Truth posted the picture, like I'm proud of my boys DX, Shawn Michaels and Triple H are back, and in the picture it's Johnny Gargano and Triple H holding the titles, and Ciampa's the one next to him doing the Triple H point because he's been calling Ciampa Triple H and he's been calling Triple H Ciampa.
And some people can
Perfect.
argue that it
Perfect.
is not, oh, that's a detriment to your gimmick. No, it's not. If
If
I
it,
could, if I could walk around and call myself the new D-Generation X, I would.
they
That is
had
a
the
gimmick and not a gimmick infringement.
they had the DX style entrance at Mania, and the crowd lost their freaking minds. The crowd, look, now you could argue maybe there were some people in the crowd that had not been paying attention to the product, whatever, or maybe they missed the episode, whatever, and they were probably like, "Oh my God, is it actually DX?" But when DIY came out, and it's very obviously their gear, and they have the DIY shirt, but it's done up like DX, like it was so obvious what they were doing, and the
Right.
crowd loved it.
And like you can talk gimmick infringement all day long, but like we sit there and we look at local company 225 who does Fright Nights. Sometimes you have wrestlers that dress up as other wrestlers and do their whole gimmick because like people would love to see it. People
Well,
don't care if you show up in a ball cap and a painted on eyebrow and you pretend to be The Rock. Nobody cares. They want to see it. They, hey, we can't get The Rock right now, so screw it. We're gonna get
dude,
somebody that can play The Rock.
wrestlers have the same themes as other wrestlers. Wrestlers do similar gimmicks to other wrestlers. Well, I mean, if we're talking about 225, like Wild Thing has the same entrance music as John Moxley, and there's not a single person in that building that hears that song and goes, "Is it Moxley?" Everybody goes, "Oh yeah, it's Wild Thing. Let's go."
Let's go. And
You hear that music and that promotion. That's what that means. Like fans are not stupid. I mean, some of them are stupid, but a lot of fans aren't stupid. You know,
all y'all are super intelligent. Not at all.
if you're watching this show, you're one of the good ones.
Yeah.
If you're arguing about
Um.
ratings on Twitter, you're one of the bad ones.
Correct. Sorry.
Just watch the show. Who cares what the numbers are? Good wrestling's good wrestling.
He's got a point. Don't cancel me. So yes. So that's basically the big thing that happened. It was a pretty decent match. They walked away as champs. Everything's great and good in the world. We sat there with the argument earlier in the night. Maybe we recorded it. Maybe we didn't. Where we were just talking about how sometimes you have 8 matches on a card for a pay per view. Sometimes you have 5. Sure, you could have put your tag title contentions that happened the past 2 weeks onto the Money in the Bank card, but you're trying to keep it small. You're trying to keep it reasonable. Trying to keep people's attention focused. I don't blame you, but put it on SmackDown. Decent choice. Whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
great result, man. I'm really excited about it.
Going on to Rampage on Friday. Really, the biggest thing that kind of happened, you're setting up a few storylines with Roddy and some other people, but the main thing that happened was the main event: Mariah May versus
Hikaru Shida.
There you go. I'm really bad unless I have the names directly in front of me, and I do not. So Shida versus May in a pretty good match.
Yep.
Me personally, I think there may have been like a small language barrier or some kind of thing. If that's the argument that oh, it wasn't great because there were so many slip ups. Just understand that it's a Japanese woman and an English woman.
Well, and I
Cut
mean,
them some
look,
slack. People are people.
if you look at sports, man. You take 2 all-stars, you put them on the same team. If they don't complement each other's styles, it's not going to be great.
Correct.
So I mean, there's times where like you take 2 people that on paper look like this should be perfect, and it doesn't turn out as good as you think, and it happens. Sometimes you just don't work well with somebody. Your timing's not the same. Whatever.
Yeah, and it happens. I've had a couple of matches where that has happened, and call it an experience or call it just not having the chemistry. But it happens. You work with it. You make the best out of what you got, and you go home. And Mariah May takes it, moves on to the finals, which something we didn't talk about Dynamite is that Willow versus Chris Statlander happened first thing in the night. Willow takes it. So it's going to be Willow Nightingale versus Mariah May for the finals of the Owen Hart Cup. And personally, we sit here and we go, yeah, there's no tension between Toni Storm and Mariah May right now. At what point does the switch flip? Me personally, I don't think it's going to happen until they fight in Wembley.
Yeah.
I don't think there will be a tension swap until that match. I think it is going to be, we are all friends. You were still my Mariah. You were still my Tony, whatever that they do. unless maybe like the week or two beforehand, something, attention of some sort builds. That way you have a small bit of storytelling.
Well, since we're on Rampage, we can kind of move into Collision because they happen, like the
Yeah,
next night.
yeah, yeah.
There was that promo segment on Collision where she is the perfect corner man for Mariah at this moment. We're gonna go and win this thing. We're gonna go take this championship. I've got the line that got me. I've got the perfect outfit for you. I'm wondering if she's not, she's gonna have something for Mariah. So I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't even want to speculate. This is one of those times where I'm not even going to fantasy book. I'm going to take the ride. But I think that could, if there could be a point where like the first tiny crack happens, I think it could be that match. I think it could be that, like, I think maybe that's it. But I don't know, and I think this is one of those times where, kind of like going into Mania this year, I don't know what the hell they're doing, and I kind of don't want to know until it happens.
I don't want to either.
Like
It's a great
sometimes
time to be
just
a wrestling fan.
buy
Sometimes
the
you gotta
ticket,
sit
take the
back.
ride.
Sometimes you got to strap in and take the ride. That's. And then Collision. We talked about the MJF promo. Just getting heel heat. He does the whole, this is how my brain works kind of thing, and then calls out Will Ospreay, which we knew an MJF Ospreay feud was going to happen. We didn't know when it was going to happen. The way he keeps calling out this dude and running away from this dude, it looks like it's going to happen in Wembley. But once again, we don't know timelines for people. That match would blow the roof off the place. TK, give us your money, or shut up and take my money. But he even gets to the point where he's like, Ospreay only cares about ratings from Meltzer, and then Ospreay's music hits, and MJF smiles because he knows Ospreay isn't there. He just got the fans hooked. Like I love those heel moments where you have the guy hit the music and have the whole crowd pop just for them to come down and realize that he's not actually there. And it was the MJF. He's playing all along. But other than that, and I could be wrong, but really and truly, you had the Jack Perry Open Challenge, and you had good old Marco Stunt return to AEW. What I think is a one-off, but who knows at this point.
So I don't think it's a one-off because I don't know if they aired it on Collision or not, but I saw it after getting back from your house watching Money in the Bank. There was a backstage segment, and they went to interview Marco, and he didn't say anything, but there's like they're setting it up, and when they turn the mic to him, you see the shadow of the dinosaur. And Killshot Luchasaurus walks in front of them. They have a brief stare down and walk away. So I think maybe even if it's a one or two shot, whatever. That was cool as hell seeing Marco Stunt back. And like Marco Stunt's not the greatest wrestler in the world. He's probably not even in the top 100, but man, he was fun as hell as part of Jurassic Express.
Yeah.
And I think
he's just got the energy. That's all
if you send him back in, if he has a 2-month run, a 6-month run, whatever, I think he could be a lot of fun. Absolutely. And so I'm hoping they brought him back for more than just the one, but we'll see.
And then, after Collision, or not necessarily after, but before Collision, we had Money in the Bank. This will be our last talking topic before we go on. Watch along. But Money in the Bank, run down the card super quick. You had men's Money in the Bank match to open it up. Drew McIntyre takes it. Whoa, kind of not really a big surprise. We knew as soon as Drew qualified, I'm pretty sure both of us said to each other, okay, Drew wins it. What a CM Punk. We kind of knew the finish. We kind of knew, because they were marketing so much of the Heat in the Bank, that they probably weren't going to go with Jay, but the only two options in this match was Jay or Drew. And they took Drew, and, later in the night, which didn't happen much further after, you had the second match. You had Braun versus Sammy, which I'm surprised Sammy took it.
I feel like
the heavens Sammy took it.
I'm glad he retained. I love Sammy, but I could see maybe the next one, like if they rematch this thing back at SummerSlam, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then you've got the heavyweight title match, Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest, in what might possibly be a blown spot. We haven't figured out what happened to Damian. If I had to guess, he probably just didn't hear the one count. I've been there before where it's kind of a
So,
situation where you hear the ref go down and you don't think it's a count. You just think it's him hitting the mat, and then he hits one, two, and the ref goes to hit three, and no one moves, and so the ref holds it and goes for the two because he knows that's not the finish. There's possibly a chance that music should have hit
so
or
that's
something along those
what
lines.
I was gonna say is I think maybe that was a production snafu because I think I watched it back a couple times and I listened to I think Chris Van Vliet asked Triple H at the presser and he gave a very political like well what I think happened I think he didn't kick out and I'd like to talk to the ref and this and he kind of threw it to the officiating. But he also said, like, I'm going to answer this as Triple H, which I kind of love that. He's like, I have to give you something. So I'm just going to give it to you, whatever. But I honestly think what was supposed to happen is it's supposed to be one, two, McIntyre's
Bong
music
ching.
hits.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was it was one, two, oh my God, it hasn't hit yet. Nobody's kicking out. Nobody knows what's going on. And the ref had to kind of be the one to play the dumbass in the situation. Be like, oh no, that was on
And
me, guys.
if
And then the
that's
music
the
hits.
case, I mean, it
You've
sucks
got
to bang a
thousands of
ref.
people that are responsible for this production. One person didn't hit a button at the right time. It happens.
People make
It didn't
mistakes.
ruin the moment.
It's real life. You know.
I mean, I don't think it ruined the moment.
No.
I think the much more noteworthy thing was what happened after.
So Drew comes out, cashes in, makes it a triple threat match, and one, two, Punk comes, screws McIntyre, beats the tar out of McIntyre, does all the stuff, hits him with the title belt. Now, the thing I did not necessarily appreciate was how long Punk held on to said title.
Yes.
Sitting down on the commentary table and holding the title. Because at this point, yes, it is you taking the heavyweight title away from Drew, and that is Drew's like one desire at this point. But it's not yours, and at this point, you're not even in contention for it.
Yeah.
Um, it is what it is. It's as if I took a heavyweight title from. I'm not even in a heavyweight title contention at this point, and I just walked into a show where someone's fighting for it, and I held onto the title while I was on commentary. Like it defeats the whole purpose. So it's not it's not your title. Don't touch it. Yes, that seems a little immature, but it is probably a little more immature on the other end. I have CM Punk. You're probably a great guy. I'm sorry that the media has put you in such bad light. We're going to start
Man.
getting to these points.
Look,
because I think we're only going to get to the point that we put this up as video, so I'm going to start addressing the camera more often because
That's
I
right.
find it funny.
No, I agree. Like I think we've kind of had this conversation. I go back and forth with. I think by the day I go back and forth with whether or not I'm a CM Punk fan. I loved him for so long. I don't like the way the whole AEW exit went down. I still contest that between his side and the elite side, the truth is lying somewhere in here. Whatever, but I do kind of agree. Like him costing Drew his cash in. I think. Look,
There's a back and forth to it, man.
how much more do these guys have to do before they finally just make the damn match?
We're just setting up SummerSlam, and that's it.
I
I
think it
fully
was
believe. I think we're almost to the point that I just don't know if Punk has got yes he's cleared, but I don't know if he's done with his PT his physical therapy.
and if
So
that's
I
the
think we're just to the point that we're just trying to blow it off. Either that or we're trying to limit the amount of matches we have on pay-per-view, but we want this to be a pay-per-view match. Just freaking put it on pay-per-view.
well, so you after the show goes off air, they go into post show. McIntyre comes flying in on the post show, gets physically restrained, taking swipes at Adam Pearce. Punk is fined for his actions in the match, and McIntyre is suspended indefinitely. So I think they did. So this is one of those things. I think I heard Sam Roberts talking about like they did a great job of escalating things to like now CM Punk has not just cost him the title once. He let him win the Money in the Bank and cost him the title a second time. And I'm like, great, great. But until you guys book a match, What more are these guys going to have to do to try to keep escalating this feud? I mean, is Drew McIntyre going to have to show up with AJ Lee's head in a box? Like, what more can you do without booking the damn match? I love that we're building this thing, and if they'd have booked it 3 weeks ago, a month ago, whatever, it would have been just as heated.
Yeah.
Now we have just taken Money in the Bank and tossed it out the window. And again, I'm not mad at it, but it's like, what else is going to happen before you finally just book the match that we've been building since January?
Correct.
Just book it, man. You're not going to make any more money off of it. Everybody at this point wants to see it. Just make it happen. There's nobody that is doubting how great this match can be. We all know. Let's see it.
We'll see what happens. But immediately after that, women's Money in the Bank match. I don't know if you can see the watch that's on my arm right now, but it's sure as crap some Tiffy time.
It's Tiffy time, baby.
And highlights of that match are two women: Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green.
Yes.
You know, you can say what you want, but when we say highlights, we mean the actions that they used in the ring.
Look, it is no secret those women are absolute goddesses, but still, that they both put. Again, I quoted Chelsea earlier. There's matches and there's moments. You may not remember 6 months from now how Zoe Stark blew damn near every spot she was in and probably got herself knocked unconscious 2 or 3 times. But you are going to remember Chelsea Green grabbing at that briefcase, bringing her hands down and getting shoved off the top of that ladder through those tables to the outside. That's going to be in every single Money in the Bank highlight reel from now to somebody else does something crazier.
And I believe it can be used as an excuse.
Yep.
Because wrestlers, we love excuses.
You do.
To be used, for, hey, I had my hands there. I was so close. And, as she says, she wants to create moments. She doesn't care about the match. She wants to make people feel things. And as soon as she got up on that ladder and had both hands on the briefcase, I remember both of us jumped out of our chairs because we did not have Chelsea Green winning this match. And
I had Chelsea winning in here, not up here.
Right. And we had Chelsea Green, we were convinced she was pulling that briefcase down. And then all of a sudden, Tiff comes running up, pushes off, grabs it. And we still lost our minds because I think Stratton was more of an answer for who won the match, but having her actually win it, actually said something in yards and miles for what is, coming her way. We know she's a star, and she was a star in the making. If you want proof, go watch her matches with Becky.
Dude, I think the Elimination Chamber was the first time I was just like, I know I like what she's doing. It is wildly apparent how over she is when, like, people across the world are chanting Tiffy time loud as hell.
Yeah.
She's doing something.
Go look at Chamber, dude. Like, the pop that she got for Chamber, people were questioning if she was actually a heel.
Yeah.
She's technically a bad guy. She's not supposed to get cheered, but everyone loves to see her.
What she's doing is fun, man. Like, it's really fun.
It's great. And then we move into main event: Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline, who in this instance was Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa with Tonga Loa on the outside. We're going to kind of skim over this. It was a basic 6-man match. It was the main event because you had Cody Rhodes involved in it. But the only question I want answered off of this match is, do you believe Roman Reigns should have returned at Money in the Bank last night?
No. So I know we talked about it a lot that night, and the more I sat with it, the more I thought no.
Yeah.
I think if the Bloodline story has taught us anything, it's that doing the thing immediately is maybe not the way. Because, I mean, shit, like, Roman should have lost that title 4 or 5 times before he did. And so that made it, when he did, it was 10 times bigger. Imagine if you think like, okay, this is the point where somebody's got to step to Solo, and then he goes through SummerSlam, probably knocks somebody else off, and maybe Roman comes back later in the year. I mean, you keep that run of destruction going to a point where the fans like, okay, enough, something has to give.
And
Boom,
then give it
Roman's
another
there.
month. And then
Yep.
give it another month. Have them be so sick and tired, which at this point, some people are. Some people are sick and tired of Solo's run. I genuinely think with Fatu coming in,
Yeah,
that's going to change things.
I think God and Fatu coming in completely shifted my view because when it was initial like, okay, Solo's going to be the one to take over, really, but what they've turned the bloodline into, where it's like before like you've got Roman who is charismatic, you've got Paul Heyman who is charismatic, and now you have just this silent killer surrounded by silent killers. And the entirety of the bloodline now is not the fun promo segments, is not the silly like we're gonna have this celebration ceremony. It is just they show up, they destroy people, and they leave.
Yeah,
They're like hired guns at this point, but they're the ones who are hiring themselves. It's
yeah.
wild.
It is. It feels like a mafia boss. It really
It
does.
really does, and not like a like a Tony Soprano. I'm gonna give you a monologue first. We're gonna show up. We're gonna kill everyone you love, and we're out. And look, people can talk about Solo not being charismatic, not being interesting. Watch what they did to Paul Heyman and tell me that this is not interesting.
Yes, we talked about it last week. Paul Heyman's one of my favorites, and they told an excellent story when it happened.
Yeah.
So, but that ends the week of wrestling. Biggest takeaways probably, Forbidden Door, Money in the Bank. There's always potential for more in these companies, and their pay-per-views prove it. You have closing of stories, but opening of tenfold more.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. But personally, I think, what a world we live in when it comes to wrestling, because we are only talking about two major companies. And as we work to shorten our recap of the week and maybe just start hitting highlights instead of full recaps, we may potentially talk about more companies when it comes to TNA, GCW, whatever it is. May end up talking about companies that I'm in, depending on when the show happens. But we can see what happens. But when it comes, perfect segue, when it comes to matches that I'm in, we're going to do a watch along now, where we're going to be watching my match against Defiant Simon Phillips. I will not spoil the ending, but at this point, we have set up. Me and my good friend Dale Springs have had a perfect fight when it comes to, not perfect, but a very good feud between the two of us when it comes to our conclusion of a back nine brawl.
Which we have to watch, man. We have to watch at some point.
It will be something on the podcast. It's, for me, it was my start. I got put in, and some stroke of luck, I'll call it luck and not idiocy, I won that match. At the end of that match, they pull some shenanigans, and I lose the match at the end of the night because there's another impromptu match and I lose the title. And then we move on. There's a couple of months that go by. A big company conspiracy happens, and I win the title back. It was big full circle. My buddy Dale Springs got to get a special guest referee that match. So it all came full circle where I beat him for the title. I lost it due to shenanigans. He gets to referee. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Dale Springs is having a feud with our good friend Simon Phillips, Louisiana native, phenomenal athlete. As much as I hate him, I can respect that he is a phenomenal athlete and is doing great things on the independent scene. But that entire time, him and his group Disobey are beating the absolute tar out of us. Just coming in Florida, beating us up. Coming to us in Louisiana, beating us up. Finally, it got to the point where after many, many chances and many, many interactions, we finally set this match up. Alex Braddock versus Simon Phillips for the heavyweight title in the company at the time. And this heated rivalry, many that don't know or just tuning in, or depending on how you do. I wear face paint every now and then as a gimmick. If you want to go ahead and just get it started, we can run it in the background while I'm ranting.
That's I was about to say, I'll get the match up and running.
I do face paint for what I feel is big matches. I tell people all the time that I understand that we are not the Tokyo Dome. Therefore, we will never get a 7-star match in a random place in Pensacola. But you got to get the fans invested and make it think it is. So I come out, and any big match that I have, I put on my war paint, which we will see my iteration of the war paint. You can kind of see the Disobey cross there. I do an iteration of it. Some may argue that it was not my greatest achievement when it came to that face paint that night, but it was still very good. Some great photos from that photographer, Christian McCulkin, I believe his name is. Excellent photos. Check out his work. Some of the old posts that I have on my Facebook have his tag in it. But Simon does the stuff. Those guys were fun in the front row because they just booed me out of the building, and I loved it. You always got to have at least one guy that boos, because it just adds to how real everything is. But Simon makes his way to the ring. Donnie Harris Jr. in the ring, and who will be on commentary as well. We have Rob Ocho as a referee. I believe this was his second or third night refereeing. Did a phenomenal job at what he did. And here I come out to the old classic Fall Goliath Fall by Project 86.
Love it.
Maybe that song might be coming back here soon. We don't know.
Here's hoping.
I may throw a little curveball into plans and use a different one, but here I come in the old school purple gear, holding the title, and the face paint. The white cross, the crooked smile. I am here for war. I'm not here for anything else. I very lightly high five. At this point, the pillar doesn't exist, so there's no touching tips. But I'm coming in because I know I am at war. At this point, we have friends. I am just holding this title and cherishing everything that I am holding on to it with. So
love the smack talk from Simon Phillips. He's
he does
pretty good at running his mouth.
Dude, that guy can talk up a storm.
Great wrestler, match. Great shit talker.
Absolutely. Honestly, one of my favorite photos from this match is a little submission that he puts me in. And yes, I am getting my absolute butt beat during that photo, but he bends me over his back and just chaotic, eyes wide, screaming at the camera when the photo is taken. He's phenomenal at what he does. I got to give him props for that. But as we move in, Donnie does the announcements. We were kind of making sure that music was off for copyright reasons, so I think we're good now. I think all the music's off. I think Donnie's
just go ahead and give a little audio
so we can. Yeah, here we go. Oh yes, I remember the audio was a little bit off on this one. They were trying to figure out their production, but it's okay. We understand. Donnie, phenomenal announcer. I'll give him the props.
It does kind of have that deep echo to it. Makes it feel like the room is so much bigger. If you've been in that room, it's not big, but it gets loud.
Not big. It is not big.
It gets very loud. The people I think like it fills up nicely for like indie venues.
Yes.
Like it was a fun room.
It's fun, man. It is a good room to be in. I'll give it props. That is a phenomenal venue. Fans were actually quite hot most of the time.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I have never been a swole person. I probably never will be. But I think at this point, this might possibly be the best shape that I've been in, other than maybe directly right after the back nine brawl. Um, back nine brawl was not much longer, much too far after my wedding. So I was in the best shape of my life for my wedding, and then turned right back around. And as soon as this match was announced, I went and worked my butt off to look this good.
Taking Alex Braddock down to the mat.
But yes, just keeping it easy, keeping it simple. For those of you that don't want real insight into wrestling, I'm sorry. This is going to be a half and half. This is going to be a retelling of what happened, but also a slight insight into what the crap is going on with people. I will be taking a hiatus after this match, so that is also the emotion that is going.
Alex Braddock, not intimidated by Simon Phillips, as you see right here.
My mind through this moment of just I'm going to tear this guy apart because at this point this company was my home.
Yep.
So the fact that he just wants to give me crap and beat the tar out of me and doesn't actually give me a chance to actually fight him head on, and now he's finally giving me a chance. It felt really good.
Arm drag from the defending champion.
I'll tell you, one of the things I'm noticing, and I'll give Simon his flowers. Like y'all's just a little bit of grappling we've seen so far. Everything has looked so quick, but crisp. I think a lot of guys when they speed up they get too excited and stuff starts to look sloppy. Everything he's doing, his movements are quick, they're concise, but they're tight.
Yes.
Look, he may be an asshole, but he's a damn good wrestler.
He's phenomenal. And so
Alex Braddock not going to let that happen on his watch.
Why so negative, Donnie? Why is it dark days ahead? He is a great competitor.
Great competitor in the ring.
Nice little forearm.
Let's say I like that forearm.
Yeah. It's been a minute since I've done a second row forearm. Fisherman suplex. Probably the first time I've done that move.
I was about to say it's got to be pretty early because I don't remember you doing it.
But I remember at this point my knee was giving out on me. I don't know why it was. I have bad knees. So I hit that fisherman and I bridge up, and all I feel in my knee is just like, nah, I don't want to stay up for this. Like, oh, that's fine. So that's why I kind of collapsed into the corner. But
yes, I do.
Work a hold, buddy. It's literally the way my life works. Things.
I'll tell you, man, that knee has scared me more times than I'd care to admit because I've known you.
Perfect example.
I've known you since you were you were a teenager lugging our gear around.
Yeah.
And
as a band,
I remember. Yeah. I remember you being in high school walking around with a knee brace on, and there's times where when I see you clutch a knee, my heart sinks. So if you ever need to just elicit raw emotion out of me, you already know what to do. Just clutch the knee,
right.
And my stomach just sinks. I'm like, oh no, this is it.
But yeah, we I remember this. We had a good time fighting on the outside. It didn't happen much in this company. We kind of wanted to keep it in the ring, and then he starts talking crap.
I love it.
The whole time. The whole time. Honestly, probably one of my favorite moments of that match is just him impromptu seeing a mic and going, "Let's run it." This was shenanigans.
Alex Braddock not able to mount much of an offense at this moment.
Pretty sure I had family right there. I could be wrong. But it was not great. Anytime a chop is given, not great. Simon Phillips chops, even worse.
And you saw Simon Phillips there
The
jumping
guy
right
does not
in
have a
for
frying pan of a
to break the
hand,
10
but
count.
he does not hold
You know,
anything
he wants
back,
his
as
title,
he
can't win it
should.
by count out.
Well, he lays
But
those like Ric
one
Flair
more,
style
one more
chops.
for good luck. Yeah, he
He
overhand, as if he's
whips.
Big Show. Once
Yeah.
again, as if he has.
Simon Phillips wants to do
I
more
mean, at
than
this
win
point,
the
he has a
title. He
vendetta.
wants to break the spirit of
But
Alex
yeah,
Braddock.
for sure,
Once
this
again, they're
match,
just
man.
breaking the 10 count.
This might be one of my top
Alex
ones
Braddock,
of my
like I said
career.
earlier, not able to mount much of an
You
offense
have
at this
come
moment.
back
Simon
off of
throwing
this
him
one.
back into the ring.
Um,
Alex trying to get back to a vertical base.
it helps being in with a guy as experienced as Simon
On the
Phillips.
second rope.
Oh,
But yeah,
Dropping into the back of the defending champion.
we got it going.
This crowd
Some
chanting,
surprises
"Alex
came along the way,
Alex
but
Braddock."
as is anything in wrestling,
Take out the back, you take out everything connected to it.
that is such a simple thing. Like just like, oh yeah, I've got my boot on you. I'm gonna dig it in further. Like just wrench it in. Just make sure that your ribs are absolutely getting crushed.
I know that ain't you saying that.
yeah, that was simple, but I feel like everybody knew exactly what you were feeling.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's been stepped on before. Not in the worst ways.
But I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you've had someone accidentally step on a foot, accidentally step on whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I mean,
That's-
probably parents and families, at home have had a kid stand on them.
Yep.
Those kids weigh 20, 30 pounds versus Simon Phillips, who weighs close to 200, I believe, is his last weigh-in. It's a good time.
That's one of those things in wrestling, man. Like, I think there's certain moves that like the crowd understands how that feels,
Yep.
and there's certain stuff where it's just like they have no idea how that feels.
Nope.
And
And
so-
here's that backbreaker moment where he just
Yep.
stares into the camera screaming. Good times. And then he made it worse by chopping.
Yeah, you feel every bit of that.
One more for good luck. But I mean, everyone's been slapped.
Yep.
And everyone knows how a slap across the chest feels.
Well, and the hair pull too, because he's got you by the back of the head and he's yanking your head back.
Bending me back over his knee, and then just one for good luck. And it's
Sometimes it's
it's
not
a
the
real good
like.
time.
Sometimes it's not the craziest technical hold. Sometimes it's something simple like that that just looks so violent.
Simon Phillips is once again bringing that boot down on Alex Braddock.
This was a fun one too. I think this is the most tan I've ever been. I still look pale as all crap.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, this was fun. This was fun.
It looks like you're having a great time.
Oh, it's a grand old time.
Woo.
If I can tell a story that happened after this match, we brought in a guy named Robert Martyr, who, shout out to Robert, phenomenal indie guy. We brought him in to face Dale Springs earlier in the night on the show, and me, Dale, and Robert all took a picture at the end of the night, and Dale sent it to a couple of our friends, and I remember one person going, geez, dude, did Simon really beat the tar out of you because the black paint hadn't gone away? So it just looked like my entire eye had bruised. If you look at my face, probably now, honestly, most of the paint is gone. The paint doesn't last very long, but here we are, just working the hole. I'm probably entirely out of breath at this point, especially because he's digging his knees in. Oh, and there's a pin.
Man, that's a sweet pin.
I love it, dude.
You're gonna hear me say this during watch-alongs a lot. I just freaking love wrestling, man. Like the art, the science, the sport. I freaking love this stuff, man.
I mean, dude, we come back to, for me, what does it for me versus you.
There we go.
Yep, little offense. This is before I really understood what I was doing. A little inverted STF, maybe. A little return of the fingers in the mouth, and then he bites my hand.
What a jerk.
He's a prick, dude. He's a real prick. He's a real prick. I just loved the fact it also helped that he spit away, but a lot of people didn't realize he bit me until after the match. I'm sitting there shaking hands with people, and people looked down at my hand, and I had a tooth imprint into
Mhm.
where he bit down on my hand. Because some people just don't pick up on those minor details of like him biting.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like I guess the theater of like wrestling is sometimes the person in the back row doesn't catch the nuance.
Right.
But you know,
And
they
a
don't have
little
the benefit of
insider
4
wrestling
cameras.
thing, little insider wrestling thing. That's why you're supposed to work to all 4 corners and work
Yep.
in the middle of the ring so that everybody can see you and everybody can see what you're doing. And I believe we're doing some kind of loss of air. I don't know exactly what's going on. Oh, I wanted to give a little shout out, but it turned into a pin. I was trying to do a little Braxton Hunter submission, and I don't know how to do that. So gives you props to who Braxton Hunter is and the creativity that he's got. So but trying to get back up on the offensive. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing right now. Most of the time I can run back through.
I think
Run
what you're
back
doing
through
right there
everything
was
that's
getting
going
your
on.
chest caved in.
Yes. Yeah. Most of the time I can run back through matches and know exactly what's happening. Sometimes people beat you up so bad that you don't remember. No, it is not CTE. You just try not to remember it. So, yeah.
Selective memory, we call it.
Selective memory. There's selective hearing. There's selective memory. Hard at this point. I think at this point, my day. We probably left at 8 o'clock that morning. So this is probably 8 or 9 o'clock.
Ooh,
It's
that
phenomenal
was
little
clean.
move, and he uses the ropes for the dirty.
Dude, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I may have to steal that. Sorry, Simon.
I'll edit that out. No, I won't.
No, we won't. This is an unedited show. Until we
Unedited,
try to start
baby.
making money off of it, and then we'll get it edited. But yes, it was a late night, to say the least. This is probably 8 or 9 o'clock. We started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we had shenanigans happen after the show, and then even further after the show that I will not comment on. So, but yes. Also, then again, we can't really make comments if Cardona uses his T-shirt, but using the wrist tape to choke, that's kind of, is that using illegal objects? I guess you let it through during the match, so I guess it wouldn't matter.
Well, I mean, that's one of those. It's one of those questions. Like Cardona used the shirt to choke somebody. If you're still wearing it, is it a weapon? If he puts that tape right back on, it's like Danhausen using the teeth. People have teeth in their mouth. It's not a weapon.
And I remember yanking my heart out on this one. He put his hands in my mouth. I'm putting my hands in his nose, his mouth, pulling his freaking neck off his body.
That face, dude.
Dude, I
don't like using the word receipt liberally, but that felt very almost receipt-like.
No, it wasn't.
In like the respectful way of like, hey man, you gave it to me, now it's my turn.
Right.
And less of a you screwed up. Here's your payback. Like I like a positive receipt as much. Like you were snug, I'm snug. Let's have fun.
And that was the thing with the both of us at this point was we both like beating the tar out of people, and we could both take a beating. So
yeah,
we both understood. It goes back to that Shingo Bryan or Pac Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever, is a hard-hitting match, because they both understand we're just going to go out there and we're going to, beat each other up. That's what we're getting paid to do. It is, of course, not a UFC fight, but it is still beating each other up and doing it in a way that makes the fans feel something. We're looking for moments. We're not looking for matches.
When you have those matches like that where you've got guys that there's no ego behind it, and there's the malice. As much malice as you can have in professional wrestling, but not like I'm trying to destroy this man. It's just I'm ready to kick his ass, and just two guys get it like this. You get magic. I love a good like safely violent wrestling match, as silly as that might sound.
Hey,
I'm not trying to end your career, but I'm trying to end your night.
I have to give the devil his due. This crowd chanting Alex, Alex. They don't want to see Simon win the title either.
Oh, that double stomp.
Back of the defending champion.
his stomps are gnarly. It's
No.
if I can speak a little bit, it's hard to pull a stomp.
Fight it all. Some
Yeah.
It's especially jumping off a rope.
Simon now
We
taking
work
a
with
moment,
it.
slowing down, working on the left arm of
If I can go on to talk about what happens after this match, it sets up a match between Simon Phillips and Brandon Collins versus Dale Springs and Alex Braddock in 225 in the very same gym that I first watched my indie show and said I want to become a professional wrestler. It was a really nice full circle moment of being able to start with the guy, tag with the guy that I started that indie show watching. Dale Springs was the first guy on that indie show. I believe even Simon Phillips was on that show. And so we had one heck of a good time.
You know who else was on that show? Pillar member Braxton Hunter.
Correct. When he was working with 337 with Brandon Law.
Yeah.
That sucked. I remember specifically that sucked.
That looked like it was not fun. I like the waving the two. Oh.
Yeah. The waving the two. That's all I did.
That's all you did.
But yes, it was a good time. It sets up the tag match between us. We lose the tag titles. You can kind of see my eye at this point.
Yep, it does look like you got a sweet shiner.
And I did not, in fact. I'm pretty sure I drove home. I'm pretty sure I drove home in my gear and in face paint still, and went through multiple gas stations and a Buc-ee's in face paint, which is always a great time.
I've heard multiple stories of wrestlers like, oh, that was beautiful.
We ate.
I love the stories of wrestlers telling their like, you know, oh yeah, I was still in gear, still had dry blood on me, whatever. Like going, I think it was Cardona and Myers when they were the Edgeheads. They still had the fake blood from like the Undertaker, and they were in their Edgehead gear, and they had to catch their flight to the next spot, so they didn't have time to change. So they were covered in fake blood and Edgehead gear, going to get on this plane. And I'm like, man, that had to be spectacular to watch.
Absolutely.
Just to be like a fly on the wall.
Right. I mean, just imagine trying to catch that same flight. And
Ooh.
he
And
ate
ref's
that
dead.
kick and roll up. 1, 2, 3, 4,
4, 5, 6.
7. Okay.
He
Forgot
kicked
how
out
long
at
I held
6.
it. I just remembered how long I was counting. I remember slapping that mat and going, "I've won this freaking match. What the crap happened?" And then I turn around and see the ref.
Is his leg hurt? Is his ankle hurt?
He might be having ankle problems.
Not sure
Trying
what
to
he's
lift the foot
doing.
up to get the blood flow.
Referee
remember
still
what he was
out. We don't
doing
have an
either.
official to make the count.
This was fun. Ate a knee.
Okay.
Eating that.
Solid knee.
Yeah.
Simon Phillips crashing that knee down.
You know, of course, disobey in true disobey fashion. Seeing a referee non-existent immediately goes underneath the ring. Because why wouldn't they?
I see some movement at the apron.
Hey, like we've discussed outside of this, if the referee doesn't see it, it didn't happen.
Correct.
Referee ain't even there to make it 10.
They
So the
are the
referee
cameras.
is laid out, and so none of this has happened.
Correct.
Simon pulls a gun. All still legal.
I remember seeing Simon's head poke up over the apron, and I just went, I gotta run.
Ooh.
But instead, I get hit with a chair. I remember talking to the boys in the back, and the amount of bruises that were on my body, whether it was chops, whether it was chair shots, whether it was this, that, or the other.
I think I've heard it
It
once or
was
twice.
not good.
Winning here easily. Just
But,
laying the beat down on Braddock.
not that he needed any establishing,
And everything.
but Simon started running in this company the gimmick, the Defiant King, and I think after this match, it set it up
He's a
perfectly.
man on a mission.
Yeah.
He,
That mission
you
he
know,
will.
yes, you can say that I could have gotten a little bit more offense in during this match. It's a fight, guys. I can't control how much offense I have.
Hey, sometimes a guy's
Uh,
just kicking your tail, dude. You just gotta take
Yeah.
it sometimes.
So it's a good time.
Referee ate a vicious attack from Simon, albeit I think unintentionally.
You know, it's a fight. I think you gave it everything you had. At least to this point. We'll see where we go from here.
This is it.
See, you're giving it everything.
Yeah. I remember it took so much out of me to kick out of that. It's
I love holding the 3.
I was to the point that I wanted to lay there and just let it happen. Because sometimes
Boy, you
have
can
to
hear
make
that
a
crowd
strategic,
behind you too.
tactical decision to just lay there. But when you hear the crowd, it gives you that energy. It gives you that 1% more to just kick out super quick. This one sucked. I remember this.
Oof.
A little peek behind the curtain. I remember Simon going, I'll jump off the top onto you. How does that make you feel?
Corkscrew.
A little insight into that one. I was supposed to move out of the way.
How hard did his knee hit you? Because it looked like his knee caught you pretty good.
When I first looked in the mirror, I genuinely thought the face paint was a black eye because he hit me so hard. But once again, that was on me. I made the mistake of not moving out of the way. I got hit.
Yeah, I mean,
One right after the other, and
he couldn't hit that move any more cleanly. Like, look, professional wrestling is not perfect.
correct.
Stuff happens, and you guys are clearly making something out of it.
I still don't know what happened with his boot. I think maybe just his lace was coming untied.
Or, I mean, maybe just, it was maybe too tight, like you start to feel the tingle. Like, if you ever
Big
laced
old
your
bead
shoes
header.
too tight. If you
Big
ever lace
old
shoes
bead header, quick
too
one.
tight, you get the tingle in the foot, maybe he's loosening up, who knows.
And we're going.
Looking for another
Number
one.
2.
Labiato!
Header number 2. I think at this point I'm going for the Holy Trinity because
What is he thinking?
if 1 doesn't work, you have to go for 3. You can't go for 2. It's either 1 or 3. It's never 2.
If our fearless leader Cody Rhodes has taught us anything, sometimes you have to hit it thrice. And nope.
Nope.
One time.
Sorry. And eat crap. That dude could
Clean.
get me up for everything. And one more for good luck.
Love it.
Turn Simon
Yeah, dude.
inside
That was one of still, once again, one of my top matches on my list. This is definitely top 5, if not top 3. Back 9 brawl. Dale Springs retirement match.
This crowd egging him on.
Uh,
Simon Phillips down on the mat.
Honestly, the 6-man is up there. I don't know exactly where it is ranked
Alex on
in
the
the
second rope.
shenanigans, but
Simon Phillips
the
wins
6-man that we
the
won the
Alex has
225
9.
titles with for the first time. The first time the real Pillar faction was formed.
Yeah.
It's up on that list. I remember this sucked. He hits me 3 times, and then he just goes,
still, he holds on.
why bring him down to do offense?
I mean, he's already up there. Why not? Ooh, I remember seeing this clip,
Yep. It's always a
and
good
if I hadn't gotten a text from you the night of, I would have been texting you to see if you're all right. Because boy, that looks so
And,
good.
Yeah, I remember doing this, and not knowing entirely what.
The shaking in the hands.
I'm trying to get a little bit of energy. People call it the seizure cell. I'm just trying to make sure all my limbs are moving.
What's the cell, brother?
And try to get my foot on the rope. I am unsuccessful. Simon picks it up. Yeah, that was emotional night because I said goodbye to my home, but now I have a new home in 225 that I respect the absolute tar out of because they took some random kid that wanted to follow the dream in Louisiana and made it a reality. But yeah, and then
And
Disobey
Disobey.
gets in, gives them the title. Um, Another peek behind the curtain. He had no idea he was winning the title that night, and neither did his boys either. So right before they went out, the guy in the beanie is the only one that knew. He was an impromptu member for this company, but he's the only one that knew. And I told him, I said, "Don't tell a soul until midway through the match. When you see the tombstone, you tell them." And did it. So their interactions were genuine.
I love that, man. Like,
And to think that this would be the downfall of Disobey. that's
yeah. Holy crap, you're right.
this is genuinely like you can claim the pillar was the start, um, but I genuinely think this set in motion for the final time. Once again, this led to the 225 match where me and Dale teamed for the first time and became the pillar tag team. This would lead to the six-man match where Simon Phillips broke Brandon Collins' orbital bone and then gave Jordan JTM a concussion.
Boy, that was nasty.
It was nasty, but this is literally the lead up to all of this. And to think Disobey might still be a thing, but he is just defiant at this point. One heck of a night for sure. But it's fine.
Wanted to make sure we got all the goodness out of that, man.
Yeah, it was all the
match.
goodness. I did a little goodbye speech at the end of the night, but it was still good. My takeaways from that match, of course, was get more offense in. But that is all we got. Dylan, do you have any parting words before we go?
No, man, it's just I'm getting a little, I guess, as nostalgic as you can be for something that was like a year and a half ago. Because I think your run in CWF was, look, I'm your friend. When your friend gets into a thing you love, you always want to support them, and I've said that since you started this. It's easier when they're actually good at it.
Yeah.
And we only made it to CWF once, and that was for the Back Nine Brawl, which we're gonna have to watch on here.
Absolutely.
But man, I watched anytime those matches came out, and you're sending me hey, the link, here's the link, we got the match out. It was a really fun, and now that you're here in 225, I don't think we've missed a show you've been on.
Nope.
But man, I've loved watching the progression. You're
Absolutely.
not to inflate your head too much, but you're getting good at this stuff, man.
It's only blowing up my ego. It's fine. But yes.
I think that was one of those matches where I'm like, I think this kid's got it.
Oh yeah, no, just a little bit. He doesn't have much, but he's got something. He's got
that spark, if nothing else.
But
if he can't throw a forearm.
No, not at all. I still can't.
Make it your finish. It's cool.
Stupid. Absolutely stupid. If you want to see me in person, my next show that I have is July 27th in Denham Springs, Louisiana for 225 Bases Loaded. If you want to find other locations or companies that I'm working for, you can follow me on Facebook at Alex Braddock. I'm also on Instagram at the Alex Braddock. If you want to try and find me on socials, if I exist, it's either Alex Braddock or the Alex Braddock. You can follow us here at the Victory Roll YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button, share it with people. Right now, we run no advertisements, so we only share by word of mouth. We recap wrestling, we talk wrestling, we share our opinions, which sometimes everyone's got an opinion, just like everyone's got a butthole. Sometimes you want to hear it, sometimes you don't. We love wrestling. We love sitting and talking about wrestling. We love doing it. We love being a part of it. So we said, screw it, let's make a podcast. So yes, subscribe down below. There will be also a link to just that video that we just watched. If you want to watch it by yourself and watch it with friends, feel free. One last thing, I have Victory Roll Games. I have not started it. It is going to happen. And when it does, I will tell you about it right here and blow up on my Facebook page. So follow me on Facebook. But Dylan, anything else for you?
Nah, man, if for some reason you want even more of my takes on things, Action Figure Weekly, about to start working on a fantasy booking podcast here shortly called Brand Wars. Pretty excited about. So yeah, if you decide that like you actually care what I have to say, go check it out. And if not, stick right here to the victory roll and tolerate me anyway.
Go check them out. You want to check them out. But we have been talking for an hour and 40 minutes. So I end the podcast the same way I started. Whether it is a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or good night, whatever time of day it is for you, I hope you have an excellent one. And that is all from the